Hi, nice to see everybody. Thank you to our, I think it's 11th video. Uh, you can ask questions, so just, in the comments, just write your questions, I'll answer them. My name is Ginger Gentile. I'm the director of the Erasing Family documentary. I'm so excited to see so many of you people here because today we have a very interesting topic that is counterintuitive. It is why it is easier to erase the parent of a teenager than it is a younger child, which is one of the biggest surprises that unfortunately parents who are being erased can learn. And also it's one of the things that the general public who's not dealing with this issue directly has a hard time understanding. But before we get started, I just want to give some updates about the film, the documentary, Erasing Family. So some exciting news. We now have an Oscar-winning, two-time Oscar-winning supervising editor on board. We also have an editor on board whose past two films have premiered at Sundance, one of which you can see on Netflix right now called Holy Hell. And it's very interesting because it's about a cult. So the editor, Sean, really understands brainwashing and manipulation. He's also an adult child of divorce like I am. And we just started editing yesterday. So we're finally putting the 100 hours or so of material that we have, all the interviews with reunited families, together into one big impactful film that will not only give kids a roadmap to reunite with their erased family member, but also show society how devastating erasing a family member can have on the kids, on the parents, on society as a whole, because this is a public health crisis. So it's an emotional roller coaster, but also an expose of the family court system. And it's a film that, and this is very important, is designed to impact young people in the general audience. And I say this with all due respect to all my erased family members who are out there and have donated and supported. I am not making the film for erased moms and dads. I'm making it for the kids who don't know that they're victims of this. I'm making it for the schools that don't know how they can prevent families from being erased. I'm making it for the people who work in family court who either knowingly or unknowingly are making this problem worse. So it's very important that this film impacts an audience that might not have ever heard of this issue. So that's really super exciting. And then also, this is also super exciting, we are planning a big fundraiser in Washington, D.C. on Friday, June 8th. So we are working hard to organize that. We want tons of people to come. And what's really interesting is that Dorsey Pruder and Dr. Craig Childress will be there. They'll be speaking at the fundraiser. We're also arranging a ton of events that week. The AFCC annual conference is also that week, which means that all the people who work in family court, the good and the bad, are going to be in DC for their annual conference. So this is a great opportunity to spread our message. I'm getting hi from Chrissy Beck. Thank you for working so hard to help our children. Thank you for your support, Chrissy. You've always been there. You're one of our A supporters. Regina Marie, Delvin Valentino. Yes, the world needs this awareness. Agreed. So we are so excited, and thank you so much for your support. Now, there's a few things you can do to help us bring our message forward, finish the film, and create a huge impact campaign, because a film can be great, but it also needs to go out with curriculum packets, a tour to high schools and universities, getting in the hands of everybody who works in family court. And when I tell fellow filmmakers my plan, that I want that this isn't a film about making money, it's a non-commercial project. Our main goal is to get people talking about this issue, and we really need to get this film into schools and universities. Like, wow, because everyone talks about festivals and theatrical releases, and yeah, that's great, but we need to have this film be a tool for every activist who's working on this issue to help create change by giving people an interesting way to engage with this issue, by reaching them in the heart, which is what documentary film does. So if you haven't already, if you're like, what can I do to help? There's a few quick things. Erasingfamily.org. Go there. You can go there. You can open another window while you're listening to me talk, because the background's not going to change. You make a tax-deductible donation to our film fund. Rick Tobin, who's on here, he became an associate producer, and it's open to anybody who makes a donation of $1,000 or more. And if that's too steep for you, because so many people, don't have those means, make a recurring donation of $5 a month, of $10 a month. Every little bit helps, and You can also get someone to make a donation in your name or in your child's name, and any donation of $50 or more gets a dedication to your child or a thank you in the credits of the film. So that's another way, but also, and so many people are not taking advantage of this on our website, go to erasingfamily.org and click on Share Your Story. And right there, you'll see two links. One is to take a survey. That survey is confidential, but that's where if you want to do a deep dive into your story, what happened to you, the survey has tons of areas where you can go into detail about what happened to you in your case. Because a lot of people say, I want to share your case with you. The survey is a way that we can read this because it's automated. We have the questions that we need. But what you can also do is you can also leave a video tribute to your kid. You can leave as many as you want. You can have everybody in your family leave a video tribute. Just go to Share Your Story on erasingfamily.org. It's a super easy app, and you can watch your video before you upload it. So if you don't like the way you sound, if the audio isn't good, if it's too dark, you don't have to upload it. You can do another one. And a lot of people ask, what should these videos say? You can watch the 45 videos we already have and see which touches you in your heart and which doesn't. And the ones that work are the ones that talk to your kid from your heart, saying why you miss them and why you're looking forward to seeing them and how long it's been. And it doesn't have to be an explanation for your case. Christina Campbell said, #1 project worth the money, help kids not be on the brink. Thank you, Christina. Christina, another wonderful associate producer who I had the honor of meeting at our last fundraiser in Boston. And Christina is a screenwriter, so she knows the power of getting this message out there. So let's dive into our topic for today, which is why it's often easier to erase teenagers than younger children. And please, if you have a question or comment, just type it in the comment bar. I will read it and I will answer to the best of my ability. So as part of the Erasing Family film, I have had the honor of interviewing reunited erased families and talking to kids and adult kids who have gone through this and have come out on the other side. And often I'm talking to one sibling, but the other sibling is still alienated. And what I found is very interesting talking to kids is that some kids from the time they were little never had the opportunity to meet a parent because that parent was kept from them. They were told a lot of lies, and sometimes those lies are very effective, and sometimes they almost roll off the back of the kid's head. And when they turn 18, they're like, I'm an adult, I'm going to find this missing parent. It's my 18th birthday. Where are you? They go on Facebook, they find their parent, they run across country, and they're like, we're free, we can love each other. That happens. But another thing that I found very interesting is that so many of the kids who I'm talking to, they had a very good relationship with their parent. And then around the age of 12 to 15, they completely erased that parent from their life, sometimes even choosing to be adopted by the favorite parent or by a step-parent. And what's interesting here is that little children can be taught to parrot text. They can be taught to say and do certain things, but very often this creates a huge conflict in them. And because they're not very good at lying, because they're not very good at manipulating, because they're young children, with good psychological questioning or good legal questioning, these arguments fall apart very quickly. And I've heard many stories of a kid, saying to the court-appointed psychiatrist, I hate my dad, I never want to see him again, he's very bad and I'm scared of him. The psychiatrist goes, what does he do to make you scared? They say something, and then they say, can I see my dad now because I said what I had to say? Or they'll say, I hate my dad, and then they'll ask a question like, well, do you like playing baseball? Yeah, I love playing baseball because my dad taught me how to play baseball, and it's so much fun playing baseball with my dad, and I can't wait to go to a baseball game with my dad. And you're like, it falls apart right away. And the problem in those cases is getting the right professionals involved to identify this and not having people take a kid's I hate my dad at its face value, right? Or mom. With teenagers, it's much, in a way, easier to manipulate them because they understand they can do a cost-benefit analysis. So if you say, if you don't talk to your mom, I will give you a brand new car. For a lot of teenagers, even if they like their mom, that's a very tempting offer. I'm sure even a lot of you right there, as much as you love your parents, if you think back to your 15-year-old, 16-year-old self, you're like, talking to my mom, who I love, or car wins. A trip wins, And that's part of a normal teenage development, is wanting independence, it's wanting things, it's being self-focused, self-absorbed even, self-obsessed. So it's very easy to manipulate them, or they understand nonverbal clues very easily of, if I go with this parent, I'm going to get in trouble. But what I also found that's really interesting, and talking to all these kids who have come back, is that it's often not even that explicit. So there are cases of, you don't talk to your mom, you get a car, or you talk to your mom, you'll become homeless. But there's also cases of just making the visits by the erased parent so stressful and so negative that these kids just say, it's easier and it's less stressful for me not to see that parent. It's just simpler for my life. I have so much going on with friends and school and dating that, you know, if every time mom comes to see me, it's stressful beforehand, there's crying, mom's upset, mom begins to ask me these deep questions about relationship instead of having fun, and then at the end, dad and stepmom ask me, what did you do? Did you feel safe? How is your mom? You know you don't have to see her. We're just concerned. Did she seem stressed? Doing all these questions. They just, you know, and I talked to a guy who actually was adopted by his stepmom at the age of 18. And he, at the age of 13, said that he made the decision to not see his mom ever again. And I asked him, you know, did they say that your mom was unfit? No. Did they say that your mom was dangerous? No. Addict? No. Did your mom ever abuse you? No. Did your dad and stepmom talk crap about your mom? No. Well, then why did you make this pretty dramatic decision to never see your mom ever again? It's just too stressful, the visits. It was just too much to do. There was like all this, you know, being grilled afterwards, being stressed beforehand, and the visits were only for a half an hour, and they were very tense, and my mom would ask me so many questions. And that's why I decided to no longer see my mom and be adopted by my stepmom. So it can be very subtle, and for a teenager, being annoyed is unparalleled to what maybe for an adult being tortured is. They don't want to be annoyed by the adults in their lives. So I think this is very interesting when we talk about this issue, to mention how subtle it can be and why it's so important for the kids to get a message that you need both parents, and for the other parents to get the message that removing a parent or erasing a parent from your life, while it seems convenient and in their best interest now, is not in the best interest for the kids. So I'm going to look at some comments and questions. So Rebecca Floor says, yes, my daughter left at 13, exactly like her dad did at the same age. She parrots him. Sarah Marshall, hello, I've been erased. Sorry to hear that, Sarah. You're not alone. Just look at all these people who are just on this one little live Facebook feed. Larika Ann says, loyalty bind. Yeah, these kids are in a loyalty bind because either they're threatened with a consequence if they reach out to you, or they're just or they're rewarded if they don't. Mary Beth Perio Zadarovsky. Oh my God, this is so my situation. My son, I believe, has blocked me from even calling or texting. I'm so sorry. My son is 14. His dad is an alcoholic. He was just in jail for abusing his wife, and my son is still with him. So in a lot of cases, children decide to align with an abusive parent because they feel that the non-abusive parent is unable to protect them. So this is a long-term strategy, and we've talked about in some other videos, is that if you're in this situation, the most important thing you can do, this is not a quick fix, and this might not even be a fix at all, is profound self-care. Take care of yourself, make yourself strong. If that means taking self-defense classes because it gives you more confidence, if it means working out, taking care of yourself, allowing yourself and giving you permission, even though you're going through something horrible, to feel joy, to have happiness, to enter into other relationships, when your kid reaches out to you. It might be next week, it might be next year, it might be, unfortunately, next decade. They will see that you are a strong person capable of protecting them, capable of helping them. Because when they leave that parent, they're often leaving behind a lot of financial security, inheritance, college funds, maybe a very close-knit family, and you need to show that you can provide that sort of support. And you need to be very strong to be able to do that. And I interviewed one child who reached out to her mom, found her mom when she was 16, and she found her mom to be so broken by her dad, so incapable of helping her, that to this day, and she's in her 60s, she doesn't really have a real relationship with her mom because her mother is so broken. So give yourself permission to heal and to be happy. Regina Marie Delman Valentino. That is going on in my life right now. They're taking out the younger siblings, 5 and 7 years old. I'm so sorry. Christina Marie says listening to you is so helpful. Any other questions or comments about dealing with teenagers in particular, about what I've learned talking to teenagers who have been erased and reunited? Christina Marie, I've learned that in trying self-care in any way can be a struggle daily. It can, but just think about it, that by caring for yourself, you're caring for your children. It seems counterintuitive, but so many parents say, you know, oh, I'm suffering and I can't feel happy because it's unfair because I'm going through this and my kid is suffering. And your attitude has to be, your number one job is taking care of yourself. Because when you are able to reunite with your kid, and as I've talked about in other videos, often this reunification is unplanned. It's often nothing that has to do with you. It has to do with a crisis in their life, finally getting a good therapist that says you need to reach out to your erased parent. Stuff out of your control, but you need to be ready for that moment, because that moment can come at any moment. I've heard of stories where people run into each other at a party after years of no contact. And at that moment, you have to be there with love and joy and understanding and forgiveness, and being like, I'm here to add love in your life. Let's do some great fun stuff, and not being there broken. So making that a priority, not only will you feel better, but you're doing it also for your kid as well. Christina Campbell, better to not ask kid questions. I'll pick you up at 2 and we'll go have fun, instead of, can I pick you up? Just positive statements reporting positive stuff you're doing. Yeah, I mean, it's not a question. Can I pick you up? It's, I'll pick you up at 2. And we can go and let's go bowling, unless you have a better idea. And if they have a better idea, you do that, but you're picking them up at 2. It's not, can I pick you up at 2? And I think that's consistency. If they're like, you know, that doesn't work for me, then you can say, okay, well, I can pick you up in this time period, but I need to pick you up because this is important. And, you know, you can even joke. And if you want to spend the whole time, you know, bitching at me, that's okay, but you're going to be with me. And also saying they can bring along a friend is also helpful. Now, in some cases, you're going to get real feedback, or even a kid running away because they don't want to be with you. So you also need to take the blame off yourself if this stuff doesn't work, and just keep on trying and always staying positive. But, you know, talking to kids is like, one thing I've heard is that, you know, every time I'd see my mom, instead of having fun, she would talk about why I don't want to see her. And it's a big burden for the kid, especially because they can't say the truth, which is, you know, I'm not being allowed to see you. Listening again, this is from Amanda McDonald. Listening again, darn, I've missed the teenager ones. Mine rejected at teens. Rebecca Fleur Hugsworth, yes, self-care 24/7. I need to be here for her when she needs me. Very difficult not to be broken when the abuse is continuous. Try to find a way to stop the abuse, because especially if you're divorced, there's no reason for you to be continuing receiving abuse. Find a way to communicate only through email, text, Family Wizard. Don't engage. And there's a lot of great books. Bill Eddy has some books about how to deal with toxic people, high conflict people, and how to not engage with them, how to not get into their cycle of abuse. So I suggest, if you have in Bill Eddy's books and materials, he has a lot of great stuff out there. There's also a book that I need to look up right now about connecting with your I'm so sorry. I'll put this in the comment section afterwards. There's a great book about reuniting with your adult children and teenage children, and I interviewed the man from the film. His name is escaping me, but what is great about his book is that he really understands what teenagers will say. And like one example he gives is that parents will often say, "I'm so sorry, I did my best," and the kids will say, "Well, your best wasn't good enough," and that's a good reason why I didn't ever say, "I try to do my best." Just because you're not going to get sympathy, you're going to get, well, your best sucked. And I like his book because in the book he actually, has the teenagers using language that they actually use. John Carroll, I was raised when my son was 16. He's now 20. Any suggestions on how to bridge the cutoff? It is horrible. So, John, there's no magic solution. I think the important thing is to always stay positive and strong, and that any hateful messages you get, to know that they have been brainwashed and they are being manipulated into saying this, but they are not, and you need to respond with love and understanding. Regina Marie, Delavan Valentino, any suggestions for the oldest that aids in the alienation with the alienator? Try to maintain, like, you can never convince somebody with arguments, you can only show them with love. So if there's one kid that's blocking your relationship with the other kids, then focus your relationship on those kids, and always being positive with the older ones. Never responding anger with anger or bad remarks with bad remarks. You always have to be positive, so that way nobody can accuse you of anything. Great example of this, Fidel Castro, a former leader of Cuba who has since died. If you look through history, Fidel Castro, when he was battling with the United States, always maintained this moral superiority that basically outside the United States, people were on Fidel's side. And one of the things that he would do is, during Katrina, he would say, "Hey, U.S., I'm ready to send 200 doctors to help the Katrina victims, and they're here, they're highly trained, and we'll pay for their expenses to go help you." Of course, the U.S. said no. But he wasn't saying, "You're bad, U.S." He was saying, "We're here to help. We have doctors. We have tons of doctors. We have a great medical system in Cuba. We're there to help you." And if you're just always like, "I'm here with love," but you're bad, 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 I'm sorry. Let me know how I can fix it. But I'm here with love, and I'm always here for you. Even if that message doesn't get through, you're not stooping down to the level of the other parent. And one day, hopefully, the kid will realize, okay, from one side, I got all these messages of hate and division and picking sides, and from one, I got unconditional love. And the kids who I've talked to for United have said, what's great about the parent who I reunited with is unconditional love, and they never talk bad about my other parent. They're just there for me, and they're there to support me. Amanda McDonald, I booked to go to school interviews, and the kids are supposed to attend, but one is not communicating at all. So make these appointments hoping they will be there. Yes, and even if they're not there, you attend, because if the school is not helping you, you need to show the school, not tell the school, not prove to the school, but show what an involved parent you are. And I would say, Amanda, can you volunteer at the kids' school? Even if it's not with your kids, even if it's with another age group. Can you be there at events, just helping out? Even if there are events your kids won't attend, because then you will know the other parents in the school, and then when the other parent badmouths you, they'll say like, "Oh, I met Amanda, and she seems like a great woman. She's always bringing cupcakes." That's more helpful than you going up to people and be like, "I'm not sure what my ex has told you, but I'm really a great person. I'm not an abusive mom." That right there, people are like, "Whoa, this is crazy. I don't want to get involved." But if you show up and just help people, then their knowledge of you is of a good, helpful person. So if you can get involved with your kids' school, if you can, do so. I've always heard very positive things from that. Any other questions or comments? So I'm waiting for more questions or comments. Again, if you haven't already, go to erasingfelony.org, and you can do two fabulous things. One, you can make a tax-deductible donation to our film fund so we can finish our film. We now have an Oscar-winning team attached to the post-production. We started editing today. And you can also send a video tribute to your kid. Just go to Share Your Story. It's super easy. You can use a smartphone. You can use your webcam. You can see the video before you upload it, and it's just sending a message of love to your child. And also, as an added bonus, what we are thinking of doing is that if there's a way for us to contact your child and they're over 18, we'll get in contact with them to make sure that they see that video. Again, we're not a detective agency, so if you don't know how to reach your kid, we can't find them. But if they're over 18, we'll gladly reach out by text or Facebook or email saying, hey, we saw this video, we think you should check it out. Let us know if you want to talk to us. Jen Christian Comer, my daughter's in another state with her father who tells her lies about me. She quit talking to me. Is there hope? I love her dearly. I don't know how old she is, and each case is different. So I don't know. I can't, I'm not here to give recipes because there are people who are coaches and therapists who are much better equipped to help you with this. I just remember the name. She's 16. So Jen, I would say, to anybody, if there isn't a restraining order, can you go to school events? Even if you're just there, it's just sending a message, and for the kids, it does mean a lot. And you don't have to engage with the kid. You don't have to engage with your ex. You can just be there. And I would always suggest if you're going, and this also gets into what Mary Beth Perlo said, which is I'm scared to go to my son's baseball games because my ex is abusive and emotionally abusive. It gives me so much anxiety. I don't know what to do. Can you take a friend or 2 or 3 or 4 with you? Can you first work on making friends of other parents in the baseball team who can go with you? And you really need to practice with a good therapist and reading books like Bill Eddy's book about how to deal with toxic people, about how not to engage. And you're also mirroring behavior because if you have trouble dealing with your abusive ex, what about your kid who's living with them? So, sometimes parents are like, I can't deal with it. And it's like, time to put on your big parent pants, go out there and be there for them in a loving manner. And maybe that means you don't go up and give them a hug, but they can see you and you can wave to them or something like that. And always never go alone. So many kids have told me that when they do reach out to their erased parent, they're like, how can I, the first thing they say is they didn't want to go meet that parent alone and they wanted to bring a friend. And so I always tell people, yes, say yes, bring a friend, bring 2, bring 3. John Carroll, thank you for your help. Great advice. Keep up the good work. Also, while I'm here, is there anyone who can commit to within the next day making a video and sharing it, a tribute to their kid on erasingfamily.org? If you can, put in the comments so I will hold you to it. But we need more videos because so many parents say, I want to be in your film, I want to tell you my story. And I say, go to the Erasing Family page and make a video, and then they don't do it. So we only have 45 videos. There's 18,000 people following this page. And you all know how many people are in groups on Facebook. There's probably hundreds of thousands of people out there. Like, can we at least get to 100 video tributes? And, you can make one. You can make one for each kid. You can make multiple videos. You can also get other family members to make them. And we also have kids and siblings that are making videos. So it's really... Sandy Cruz, I need to read you a more positive one. We'll just upload a new one. Christina Campbell, not to get too woo-woo, but kids can feel when you're grounded with no guilt trips and super loving. It is all felt in the energy field. Hardest thing I work on, but true. Yeah, that's great advice because especially if the kid is being manipulated, you have to understand that they might not be able to see you and talk to you until they're 18 or done with college or financially established in their 20s. But all these little messages, they do hear and they do get, and they may not see it. But, what about if in a few years, they're finally get a good therapist and the therapist is like, okay, you won't talk to your mom. What did you do that's so bad? And they say, I don't know. She was just always annoying. And how did she annoy you? She would show up to my baseball games and cheer for me. That therapist is going to be able to help you a lot and encourage you, as opposed to, yeah, my mom would show up to baseball games and she would always get in a fight with my dad, and then she would cry and say, why won't you talk to me? And she just thinks about herself. So we can understand why you're doing that, but giving more evidence, it's chipping away bit by bit. Christina Marie, they all go to the path of least resistance. Adding love to their life means at least a few well-chosen prioritized rules and compromises too on both sides. Unfortunately, this leads to not being able to parent at all. If I see you and goes who's been, if I see you and goes to who has been the abusive parent, dysfunctional, brainwashing, lies, etc. what she has lived during the marriage and divorce. She now treats me the same as he did. I love my child, but there's no respect for me or my home or any rule I have. It's not wanting her until she can. And she doesn't want to anyway. Age 16, what to do? I have a lot to share over many years. And if you're interested in it, it can help anyone. What is your experience if you don't mind me asking? First of all, and I say this to all the parents, if you demand respect, you are opening yourself up to not having a relationship. The rules you impose, unfortunately, because your kids have been brainwashed, need to be minimal, such as no drugs in the house, no letting in strangers, no throwing stuff, like very abusive, regressive behavior. And you just need to really open up love. But if it's a fine, tight line, but you have to accept that you are no longer an authority figure for your child. You're no longer able to parent by setting rules and boundaries. You might be able to in the future if things go well, but right now you need to be there as a loving, supporting force and nothing else. And that's because any attempt to impose a rule will just be the kids saying, well, I'm going to go to the place where there are no rules. So it's like, if you can't share a parenting relationship, can you share a loving relationship that's based on creating fond memories, being a listening board? And I think it's also something too. So one of the best pieces of advice I got was from somebody who does reunification in Canada. Very, very different approach to a therapist. The first thing he tells parents is, you are never going to get a phone call from your kid. Never, ever. And that's not because they're erased, and it's not because they're alienated. It's because kids today don't make phone calls. All they do is text. They might send videos, but they're not going to pick up the phone and talk to you for an hour. So if your goal is to say, I want to have long, deep phone calls with my kid, that goal is never going to happen, because it doesn't happen to anyone, even parents who live with their kids and have loving relationships. Very rare. So sometimes it's about accepting where they are developmentally, where the culture's at, and scaling back expectations as well. And creating each contact, each moment as a win, and seeing that as a small step to getting that relationship back on track, as opposed to all the things that it isn't. So, I mean, you need to have boundaries, and there's certain things that cannot be crossed. Like if your kid comes in and begins to smash every plate in the house and shoot up heroin and invite in a homeless person to have sex with them, no, that's no. But, you know, if, so it's about playing that, so maybe it's like you'd prefer if they don't text at the dinner table. Maybe it's saying, hey, I understand that, you want to text. We have a rule at the table, no dinner. What about, if we promise to make dinner like just about 10 minutes? Starting working with that. I'm not a parenting expert, but just, you put too much strain on a child who's already going through a lot of stress and strain. So if you can be that safe place, that comfortable place, be that. And then maybe you can get back into being, the authoritative parent. It's also hard. I mean, when a kid's 16 or 18, like, what authority do you have? I think sometimes we forget what it's like to be a teenager. I grew up in a house with very few rules. But I also did whatever I want beyond those rules, because I was a teenager and that's what I was interested in. So, it's, you don't have to reward bad behavior, but also, when your kid's 18, your role as an authority figure is pretty diminished already. So instead of saying, I need them to respect me, it's part of the natural process, and it's unfortunate that those years have been missed, those young years where you can really parent and form a child, but that relationship is different. Anne Whit Monroe, what about grandparents? I have 2 granddaughters that I've helped raise from birth. The mother was in and out of their lives. My son died in 2016. The children was awarded the mother. She now has blocked all contact. Any help? So you're basically in the same situation as parents, but with less legal rights, even as a parent does, because a lot of states don't have any grandparent stuff. I would say the best thing, schools. Showing up at school events, showing up with flowers, knowing that they might not be accepted. But it shows the kids, and, volunteering at schools. Keep on sending them gifts if you can. Who doesn't like a gift from grandma, even if you know that they don't get them? And what you can also do, which I've heard a lot of parents do, is before you send the gift, take a photo of it and take a photo of the box. So that way, if you ever do get to talk to them, they're like, well, you never sent me gifts. You can be like, I did. You know, I say they must have gotten lost in the mail. And you can scroll in your phone and be like, I sent you this for birthday, Christmas, Easter, Hanukkah, la, la, la. Of course, they didn't get lost in the mail, but you get my point. You don't have to say your mother didn't give them to you. You can say they got lost in the mail. They somehow didn't get to you, but here they are. And they'll see on there that the address was right, and they'll put two and two together, and you don't have to say anything. Donna Bossman, a 27-year-old daughter tells me to respect her and not contact her. Should I still send her texts and call on special occasions? It's heartbreaking to be alienated from her. This is a hard one, but I would say yes. Don't say I miss you. Keep it super positive. And if you are able to contact her, be like, look, I'm your mom. You don't have kids. It's super hard not to know if you're okay. Can we do something where I promise not to call you if on your birthday and Christmas and the 4th of July, you send me a text just letting me know how you're doing, and I can respond saying I love you. And I won't reach out to you other than those 3 days. But I need to know that you're okay, because you don't understand this, but not knowing if you're dead or alive, or, you know, can I follow you on Instagram or Facebook and just follow you and just put likes there maybe? Is that okay? It's a horrible position, and it's a horrible thing to have to bargain for. So I'm not saying this is good, but it's like you're meeting them halfway, and then maybe, you know, if they're more in control of sending you information, and you just thought, oh, that's great that you got a new job, that might be a way to understand. So I remember the name of the book. It's Josh Coleman. I'm going to actually Google it right now. So I'm just, so sorry that I'm Googling this. I should have done this. So I'm just, because this is like really, so I think his book was just great just because it's called When Parents Hurt, Compassion Strategies When You and Your Grown Child Don't Get Along. I'm going to post this right here on Amazon. I loved his book. Just because what I loved about his book is that a lot of self-help books, when they have these dialogues between the parent and the teenager, and like, wow, these teenagers are obviously Shakespearean actors. So like, mother dear, I appreciate your, and you're just like, who talks like that? And when I read Josh Coleman's book, I was like, that's how I talk to my parents. And the best example he gives is when the parent says, I'm sorry, I tried my best. And the kid says, well, maybe your best wasn't good enough. Maybe you should try harder. Maybe your best sucked. And I was like, yeah, that's what a teenager would say. Not, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that you think you did your best, but I do declare, you know. So he really gives you some good scripts. And I know he also does in his own practice, he does reach out to adult children. And what he told me is that he will send an email, he feels a phone, and about half of the kids will respond back. And he feels that if they respond back, he has a very good success rate of getting the kids together with the parent if he can get them on the phone. So unfortunately, that means that about half of the kids he can't really do anything for, because if they don't respond, he really can't reach out. But I thought his book was super interesting. It's definitely worth a read. And I think that's the key. Like if they're at all responsive, you know, there is some hope. And even if they're not responsive, the producer of the film, Gary Balanowski, and I can say this now because he posted it on Facebook, he had zero contact with his daughter. By zero, I mean she wasn't even allowed to have a social media account in this day and age. Didn't know where she was going to school. She knew her address, but knew that if he showed up there or sent a letter, it would be intercepted. If he didn't have her cell phone number, but if he called the house, obviously the mother wouldn't pass the phone to her. So no contact, nothing at all. And she was obviously told the worst lies about him. And when she turned 21, her therapist was like, you need to talk to your dad. So she arranged to sue her father. And the reason why she sued her father was because this is in Argentina. Under Argentine law, before any lawsuit goes to trial, you must have a face-to-face mediation. And she was so scared of talking to her dad that she thought a face-to-face mediation would be the best way because there's a mediator and she has a lawyer, so she's super safe and protected. And what he tells me is as soon as she walked in the door, they kissed, they hugged, they sat down, they settled the lawsuit in about 2 minutes, where she's like, I need some money from you. And he's like, how much? It's like $200 a month. He's like, done. I'll set up the bank wiring tomorrow. And they're now having dinner together. They're texting all the time. And this was somebody who other family members had reached out to her, and she said, no way will I ever talk with my dad. But that therapist was like, you need to do this because this is harming you, obviously. But what's interesting is that when the therapist said to do this, something that Gabriel, the dad, had no control over, he was ready, and he didn't ask, what did you think about me? What were you told about me? Why? He asked her that after a few months of them talking, and she said, well, because you're a kidnapper. You kidnapped me when I was little. And he didn't say, that's not true. He said, that's very interesting. If you ever want to read your case file about what really happened, it's there for you at any time. But right now I just want to focus on the future. And she said, yeah, I would like to look at the case file at some point. But he didn't spend time trying to counter-argue each argument. He was just like, I'm great to see you. You need help? Let me know what help that you need. Want to meet your cousins? You have 5 cousins. This is incredible. She has 5 cousins, all the same age. They want to see you. Why don't we have a family reunion? Let's have the family together and everyone's celebrating. And dispelling the myths, they fall on their own. Because if someone says that you are a bad, horrible person, but then they meet you and they're like, you're a pretty great person, you don't need to say, I'm a great person. It's like the old joke, it's a liar who says, I'm an honest person. Otherwise, we get that. Sandy Creech text works awesome. Exchange every day with kids until alienated put a stop to it. So yeah, texts are good. Rebecca Fleur, great. I get his emails and a group I'm in the UK doing a call with him. I think you're talking about Joshua Coleman. So Mary Blodgett said, I just came on here. Who are you talking about? I have adult children. Yeah, we're talking about teenagers and adult children specifically on this call today. And if you're joining us late, this video is on erasingfamily.org as well as our Facebook page. We're setting up our YouTube channel, so you can always come back to it. You can watch our other videos as well. And we always try to do a specific topic. Great to have strategies. Thanks for the book recommendation. So John Carroll, I'm so glad I found your website and live stream. Thank you. So I'm just going to put Joshua Coleman's book up there again. It's and he's very realistic too, in that unfortunately not all people get to reunite. And I've talked to people who have reunited when the kid is 50 years old. And it's hard and heartbreaking, and you might do everything right and it still might not work. So that's the important thing to understand. And that's why we're doing the film and why we're targeting our audience to young people. It's because in a lot of cases, the kids need a nudge, and those nudges are often a good psychiatrist or psychologist who says you need to talk to your parent, a significant other. So many cases, it's, the kid's going through life, I don't need to talk to mom. They begin a date, and the boyfriend's like, why don't you talk to your mom? That's kind of weird. Oh, my mom's evil. Why? What did she do? She's just annoying. Like, well, that's kind of weird. I think you should talk to your mom, because if we're going to get serious, like, I'm not sure if I want to date someone who hasn't talked to their mom in 5 years for no good reason. Happens a lot. Random coincidences of people running into each other. All things out of control, and that's like what in filmmaking we call the inciting incidents, out of everybody's control. When that happens, you need to be ready. And that's all you can do, is be ready. And the film will be one big, giant inciting incident, because it's going to be a message to all those kids out there saying that If you don't see a parent, it might not be because that parent isn't fit or abandoned you or doesn't love you or is violent. They might be a loving parent, and it's worth having a phone conversation, responding to an email, meeting them for coffee, and seeing things with your own eyes, because every kid has the right to an identity. And I'm very adamant about, even if that parent has been raised as a bad parent, kids should know where they come from. Because only by learning from the past and learning from our family can we not repeat these mistakes. So Mary Blodgett just says, what does a parent do as older children keep the younger children under the spell of the other parent? I think that's for another video. I think that would be something where to get an expert involved with, Dorsey Pruder, reading Joshua Coleman's book. There's a lot of people out there who can really help with specific tactics. What I think that is important is that if you have a good relationship with a child, try to focus on that good relationship and maintaining it, and never get into a war and an argument. That's what doesn't work. Showing by example, even if that example isn't seen right away, is the only way. Entering a debate, you're always going to lose. So I think it's time to wrap up our chat. Feel free to share this video. In fact, please share this video on Facebook, embed it on your website. It's out there to be, for everybody. If you haven't already, please, we need your support to finish the film. We just started editing with an Oscar-winning team. Go to erasingfamily.org, and you can make a recurring donation of $10 a month, of $20 a month. Any donation of $50 or more, it gets a thank you and a dedication to your kids in the film. We're also having a fundraiser in Washington, D.C., Friday, June 8th. Dorsey Pruder and Dr. Craig Childress will be there, and we're having a lot of other events in D.C. And if you want to get into contact with your kid, send them a video tribute through our page. And if they're over 18, we'll do our best to make sure that they see it. So thank you so much. Same time, same place next week. And remember, you deserve to be happy. And it actually helps you reconnect with your kids. So do a little self-care. If you can today, do a 5-minute guided meditation. There's tons of free apps out there. Go take a walk. Do something fun with friends. And do something fun that is healthy. Because it's also fun to drink. It's fun to smoke. It's fun to binge watch TV. It's fun to be on social media. But, even, today or tomorrow, even just for 10 minutes, go for a walk, get some fresh air, meditate, do an arts and craft project. Do something for you, because when your kid does finally get to see you, they will see a lovely, engaged, strong, beautiful person that attracts them. Because unfortunately with adult kids, you can't force them. You can't force a 25-year-old to be in a relationship with them. You have to, seduce them in a way. You have to show them why you're an awesome person. So focus on being awesome. There's a great advice columnist named Dan Savage. He started off as a sex advice columnist, and now with the internet, people can Google stuff. So they actually ask me for relationship advice. And a lot of people say, I'm 18 and no one will date me. And his advice is, yeah, nobody likes to date 18-year-old boys. Even 16-year-old girls don't like to date 18-year-old boys. They want to date older, unfortunately. But what you can focus on now is going to the gym, so you have a great body, taking care of yourself, reading books, having hobbies, becoming politically active. So when you get to your 20s and people do want to date you, you have something to bring to the table. And you are a fulfilled person, your mind's distracted because you have all these hobbies, and you're not waiting around saying, why won't anyone date me? So it's like with your kids too. That they don't talk to you is out of your control, but you can focus on being the healthiest person you can be. So when they reach out to you, you are ready, because that time when they reach out to you, it could come tomorrow out of the blue. It could come in 10 years. You can't control that, but you can control how you show up. So thank you so much. Thank you for all the support. I'll see you next week. And remember, you can watch this video on our webpage and on our Facebook page under videos. Thanks. Bye.